A mistrial in the Davis serial stabber case. A hung jury 10-2, unable to decide a verdict on second-degree murder charges for Carlos Dominguez. Thanks so much for joining us here for the CBS 13 News at 10. I'm Hunter Sowers.
And I'm Tony Lopez. The hung jury comes even though Dominguez admitted to a week-long stabbing spree back in 2023. David Breaux killed in Central Park. Kareem Abu-Najim killed while riding his bike through Sycamore Park. Kimberly Guillory hurt, stabbed while sleeping in her tent. The 12-person jury found Dominguez not guilty on first-degree murder charges, but they deadlocked on a deciding verdict for second-degree murder charges, with 10 jury members saying he was not guilty and 2 holdouts saying he was indeed guilty.
Today's decision comes after a 5-week trial and 9 days of deliberations. For the last week, jurors have deadlocked on that second-degree charge. The question wasn't whether or not Dominguez committed 3 stabbings, but rather intent. During his testimony, Dominguez said after being treated for schizophrenia following his arrest, he understood what he had done. The families of Breaux and Najim were both in court today. Najim's parents saying the verdict, or rather lack thereof, is a crushing blow.
We are the victims, the silenced majority. Only victims understand our pain.
It would be good if it were wrapped up, just so that we don't have this hanging over our heads. But this is how the process plays out.
Dominguez remained emotionless as the judge announced first that he was found not guilty of first-degree murder. Now a retrial with a brand new jury is on the table.
So where could the case go from here? We turn to your reporter, Madisen Keavy, live in Davis tonight, tracking that as well as reaction. Madison.
Tony, we heard some surprise from the community here in Davis, but mostly sadness that this ever happened, that the families are still going through this and may go through yet another trial, and that lingering question of what does justice look like now?
Scary. Well, it was a shock because I knew David.
I don't know if I'm surprised, but I really don't know a lot.
Reactions in Davis to news out of a Woodland courtroom. Former UC Davis student and accused serial stabber Carlos Dominguez found not guilty on 2 first-degree murder charges. And on the second-degree murder charge, a hung jury.
He was tried by a jury, and if they could not reach a decision, perhaps there was not enough evidence.
This community, terrorized for a week in the spring of 2023, hasn't forgotten that fear and loss. Memorials have gone up for Davis student Kareem Abu-Najim in flowers, photos, and art. David Breaux lives on at the Compassion Corner in Davis. And it's here we asked the community for their first thoughts. Were they surprised?
Yeah, a little. Because, what is the jury thinking or what evidence was presented?
He obviously needs to either be in prison or in a mental institution, and I'm sure that'll happen.
I took some of the community's questions to attorney Michelle Trigger. What happens next?
I would say generally on homicide cases, a retrial is going to happen. Not always, because it's going to depend on what the mistrial was based on.
In hindsight, should the case have been moved out of Yolo County? Trigger tells me it's usually a defense attorney who makes that kind of request, and it didn't happen here.
Community members, they are very familiar with the case. They're very touched by the case. They're more likely to know somebody associated or touched by the case. Then again, a prosecutor may tell you that sometimes it can backfire because that's the same community that may be sympathetic.
When we asked this community, some don't see a retrial happening.
Not if they don't have more evidence.
And others do.
I can't imagine that you'd have a murder like that and not have a retrial.
This is still so fresh. I mean, obviously this happened today, but the sense of community here in Davis was highlighted in the answers from community members that before they gave their reaction, the first questions from many was how the family was doing, asking about David Breaux and Kareem Abu-Najim's family reactions after this news today. And again, I think it just shows exactly what this community is about, and it is just community.